We know it's a seller's market right now in the real estate world, but are there steps buyers can take to be competitive? The answer is yes. Our Kansas City Live home and real estate expert, Elizabeth SADY, is here to walk us through those details. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Okay, since it's a seller's market, how can those buyers still take advantage maybe or benefit from it?
Being prepared. So, and I always tell whether it's a seller's market or not, we always need to be prepared when you go out. But before, I think a lot of folks thought, well, let's start looking, we'll get an idea of the different price ranges, and they're not doing their homework up front. And so the first thing would be getting pre-approved. And I would say don't go out looking for houses before you have your pre-approval letter, unless you're paying cash, which would be lovely if we could all pay cash.
Wouldn't that be nice?
But if not, I would say make sure you've got your pre-approval letter. I mean, I don't know how many times, recently I went to Target and realized I didn't have my wallet, and it was like the worst feeling. I mean, they had every maxi dress in a medium that I could have ever dreamed of, and I couldn't buy it. So you'd hate to be standing in your dream home and say, well, gosh, we haven't talked to a lender. It's Saturday. Can we even get a hold of a lender? We need a pre-approval letter, because sellers aren't going to consider someone if they're not pre-approved and not paying cash.
And how long does that process take to get pre-approved?
So, and that's the great thing, is that it's really something that doesn't take very long. That first initial conversation with a lender can happen over the phone. So don't procrastinate any longer. I mean, take a 15-minute break at work and step out and start the conversation with the lender. And that will be great, because when you start, you can call, they can get your information over the phone, and you can start talking about kind of a price range.
Okay, so let's move on to price range. How can buyers make sure they're going in that reasonable price range?
Yes, and that's, Michelle, that's all about being prepared. And what I'm talking about is that you want to make sure, so you're going to call and they're going to say you're pre-approved up to $350,000. Well, you and your spouse may very well say, you know what, I don't want to buy a house that's $350,000. If that's our max, like, let's step back down and let's look at the different ranges. So you can ask that lender, say, hey, will you please run what the mortgage payments will be at $350, at $325, at $300. That way you can go home and guys can have conversations to say, well, if we bought it at $300,000, that leaves us a lot of flexibility for if I want to stop working after we have another child, or some flexibility in, if we find something that's perfect at $350. Another thing to talk to them about is how it affects your cash flow and what you're going to be putting down. So you're going to be putting some cash into the home as a down payment. So maybe your perfect home, you walk into the kitchen, the master bath, everything's just perfect at $350. But what if you walked into a home and the kitchen was the one of your dreams, but the master bath needed updating? If you are prepared and had those conversations previously with your spouse, you're able to go in and make an offer confidently and say, hey, we're going to hold back a little bit of cash and redo that master bath, this summer, and let's get our dream home. And you're going to make that offer confidently and be able to be really competitive and appealing to a seller.
It's all about having a plan. Now, what else should you ask a potential lender?
I would make sure you're aware of how long it takes them to close a loan. So another way to be competitive is it depends, it's case by case with a house. Sometimes homeowners want more time to look for a new home. Sometimes homeowners really like, if it's an empty house, if you can close something in 30 days, that's a huge benefit to them. But you need to make sure that your lender is able to do that. Because not only do you want to make sure that if you promise to close a house and purchase a house and give the seller their money on a certain date, that you're able to do that. But you don't want to plan your life around it. I mean, I've got so many buyers where they're planning a big major move of their family around this closing date. So when you're talking to your lender, make sure you understand exactly how long they need to get all the paperwork done.
It's a stressful situation for all involved. You want to be prepared. Okay, so what are the pros and cons versus large or smaller lender?
So I really would recommend a local lender. So, and by local, I mean someone that, there's many lenders locally that hold everything in-house. So that means their underwriting, their processing, everything handles here in Kansas City, and they're working across the room. So if something were to come up in your transaction where they say, oh, we need more documentation, they know the person that they're talking to and they can walk it. Other lenders that have, let's say, branches all over America are very large, and those lenders are sending your file across the country to someone that they're not aware of, and it just really slows things down. And in a very stressful time in your life when you're trying to organize a move and things are still going on at work and you may have vacations and kids stuff going on, or family things going on, it's always nice to have that be a smooth process. And I find that local lenders it's a lot smoother process for the buyer and for the seller. And then
smooth it out, make it easier than possible. And of course, folks can find out more information on your blog as well.
Yes, so this is exciting. This week we're starting the blog, so you can go online and read the blog. We've just got a couple posts, but I'll be posting weekly. Just kind of real estate tips. I've got a couple tips for sellers on there this week. Great. And then if there's anything anyone would want to hear, feel free to shoot me a message, and I'm happy to answer questions.
And we'll have a link at kclive.tv, our website as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.